Today's show is going to be an interesting one. I'm very lucky to have the Atlanta Hawks and Philadelphia 76ers team captains with me today. So, a lot of us have heard about this captain's program. We may have some questions, and we're going to get some answers right from the source here about this brand new program. So, without further ado, I'm going to bring in Eric of the Hawks and Matt, aka King Paulus of the Sixers. Hello, Eric, and hello, Matt.
Hey,
Hello.
Dandy. How are you?
I'm great. How are you guys doing?
Doing great. Doing great.
Cool.
Doing
All
well.
right. So I think my first question, give me if you guys can give me the short version. Each one can take a turn here. But Eric, we'll start with you. I just want to quickly get an idea of when you started on Top Shot. Just give me the story of how you got started here.
All right, cool. So I started about a year and a half ago. I don't know. I think February was the gold rush time of 2021 when everyone jumped aboard. So I just stumbled across it just online at home and saw everyone else was jumping on it. So I kind of went all in and really just fell in love with it from the beginning. Did it with me and a buddy of mine in California, and we really just spent like every day in the beginning just talking and figuring out ways to really, take the platform as far as we could back then. And then just from there, like my level of being a fan of the NBA really went up probably 100 times more than I enjoyed it before, just because of the new experience that I was having. So I always tell my friends that I probably had the NBA as number three on my four sport list, and it's probably close to being number one now, which is really cool because I was never that way in the past. But I'm a newish fan of the Hawks for the past couple of years, and I want to thank and um, give credit to Trey Young for that, only because when he became a Hawk, I was just probably enthralled with how amazing he is on the court. So I literally just watched him every game I could, and just became a huge Hawks fan. And so that's how I stumbled into the Hawks Discord and just became involved in that community, and just started talking to a lot of different people. And that brought me to obviously the team captain role that I was lucky enough and honored to be picked for. So, and that's what brought me here.
Great. And I got to ask, where did you move to Atlanta from?
So, funny enough, I'm not living in Atlanta, so I
Oh,
live in New Jersey. Um, so I grew up in New England. So, I'm also a Celtics fan. So I know we're friends because of that. And but not from Atlanta. And the cool thing about Top Shot in general is that it's worldwide, right? So you're in Portugal, I'm in New Jersey, but we can all be fans of teams that are thousands of miles away. And the cool thing is now you can join a community and meet people in real life that are diehard Hawks fans, and grew up in Atlanta, and were there during the heydays and the good and bad times. So it's kind of cool, and I'll be doing a lot of events in Atlanta, so it's easy for me to get there and participate in some cool things.
cool. All right. So we'll switch it over now down there to Philadelphia. Matt, I take it, are you in Philadelphia?
I'm in South Philadelphia.
Okay. Um,
So
so tell me about when you got started on NBA Top Shot.
when I got started, February 2021, Top Shot got onto my radar in November, December the year before. I was actually working on building a platform with a friend of mine called Bandwagon Sports, and there was the idea of rewarding sports fans with points that you could get onto ranking boards to
I
see who
remember
the
I
best
remember this
fan is.
I remember this Twitter thread.
Right. So so base broke that out on a Twitter thread, but that is how I came across Bandwagon Sport, or that's how I came across Top Shot. And at first, when I saw it, I was like, video clips, don't get it, whatever. And I'd been invested in crypto, been following the crypto markets for quite like a few years, so it wasn't like I was completely out of it, but definitely not an early adopter as some of the folks that we have seen, and just didn't understand it, looking at it and saying, what is the value of this? So I signed up in February when everybody started going, and didn't start buying until probably May, towards like when the deep into the playoffs, because I was looking at some of the values of this, and I was like, what? I don't get this. So the first moment and only moment I bought was a 40K Colin Sexton moment for like $25. And I was like, I just felt weird about it. I just kind of sat there and I was just like, all right, I'm just gonna let this one ride. And then I just continued to follow, learn. And then the market started to come down and into May and June and July. And that's when I started buying everything. And then finally we get into like August, and I got my MCW at like $700. And I remember sitting in my in-laws house being like, I don't think we're ever going to see this price again. And I just can't believe how low it got. And I just like sold off all the stuff that I had. And I was like, I just can't believe the Sixers set. And I just remember how cool that felt when I finally got that. And then the season started again, and the market exploded. And then obviously we're going up and down and up and down. But yeah, I just thought, after a while, once you're in it, once you get it, it changes everything. And obviously we've all had our ups and downs with it, whatever your personal feelings are, but it's the NBA, and I love the NBA. I've just, I think for me, I've been a diehard Sixers fan, diehard basketball fan for as long as I can remember. My dad is as big of a Sixers fan as you'll ever find. So I think that's really cool. You hear a lot of people within the Sixers community. I know we hear a lot about this, like, I do this with my kid. How can I get my child involved? And I always really resonate with that, because it's just the only thing my dad and I talk about still to this day. It's, like been going to games since 1993 together. And still to this day, like most of the games I go to are with him. So I just, I see it, I feel it. And I see a lot of like the people in our community or bring up the fact that their daughters are involved, their sons, and they're 8, they're 15, whatever it may be. And I just think there's just so much potential of where this can go, but also just the feeling of being more involved with the NBA, I think, is really cool.
Yeah, I can say, go ahead, Eric.
Oh, no, I was going to touch upon something Matt said that is like really resonates with me. So, because I have 2 kids, a daughter that's 14 and a son that's 12. So both of them are big time into basketball. I coach a lot of their teams. And just in the past year, we've taken them to a couple of basketball games. We went to Washington Wizards game versus Memphis back in December, and that was really cool because we had good seats. We saw Ja. Nobody thought back then they were going to be so explosive, later in the year, but everyone knew he was a superstar. But the really cool moment was at the end of the game. We were with some friends, and the son took my son down to the tunnel where the Wizards come off, and he had been to a million Wizard games, so he knew the spot. So he actually got Danny Gafford to throw his sweatshirt to my son, and he kept it. And like that moment is priceless, and that like is a big part of, I think, what we're trying to do as team captains is to bring like the sport so super close to the community, which you could never really do before. I mean, having my son do that once in his lifetime is probably going to be it, but we're going to be able to bring hundreds of those experiences to so many people on the platform, which is so super exciting to me. And that's what we'll talk about later about, in real life events.
I mean, but we can go right there for a second, because I think that some people might agree with everything that you're both saying about the NBA, how much you love the NBA, and how it brings you closer with your family. But then you might have a naysayer say, but what does a team Discord have to do with that? Like, can't I enjoy the NBA, just enjoy the NBA? Like, why would I need to be in a team Discord for some of those experiences? And what would you say to that?
We're going past the Discord at this point, right? I think this captain's program is the next level up. I would say that Discord was very much an in-between step of how do we start to build the foundation of a community. I mean, I'll speak for myself here. I know that Discord is one of the main reasons that a lot of my friends are like, what? I've never even heard of Discord before, and it's not the reason that they don't want to jump in, but it is one of the main reasons that they're like, I didn't know about this. I didn't hear about this announcement, and blah, 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 like all these different things. And I would say that if you to answer the question directly, you're right. It has nothing to do with it. The Discord was yesterday's, and we're trying to now build that out. And I know Eric's will jump into the real life things. In my opinion, the idea of being able to show up at a sporting event and sit with your friends or people that you know and have a conversation, these are all, to me, these are all people with Discord names that I've never seen their faces. And when we go and for the first time and get into a bar or get into a game, we're going to be able to talk for 5 straight hours and not miss a beat. And that's just what sports do. Sports bring people together. So we now have budgets to go beyond the Discord. So the response to that is Discord was yesterday's solution, and then this captain program is tomorrow's solution. So I think, yeah, that's just my opinion on that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, Discord, I look at it like it was the 1.0 platform. And a lot of times I don't even get my friends or people I talk to involved right away with that. I always think about, like, I was at a Hawks Celtics game, this year also down in Atlanta. And the first thing I like to do is when you sit down, you talk to the people next to you, right? And you get engaged. And I remember the guy next to me was from Ireland, and he flew in like that week from Dublin to hang out with his buddy from Atlanta and watch our first basketball game. And then, of course, I always test the waters, and I say, ever heard of the NBA Top Shot? And they're like, what? No, I never heard of that. And then you show them on the phone. They're like, oh, that's cool. But I think that's like one of the most fun challenges for us team captains, is to, like, talk about that more, convert people more. We all know that, like, Top Shot is in beta and the marketing hasn't really started yet. But I think that is going to change, like, when all of us start to do all these community events, and then you see more on Twitter and you see more content, and doing more shows like with you is really going to help move the needle, we hope, with all the stuff that we got coming.
Sure. And Matt, you mentioned also before the show, and along these same lines, about this idea of the power of bringing a lot of people together to find. I had a similar conversation actually with Mint Juice, which was just this power of bringing a community together with like an identity, a brand, just like a brotherhood. It's similar to what we see in European football, and this was something you mentioned before the show. Is there anything else along those lines that you could let us know that you have already begun thinking about, things that you want to integrate? And Eric, you might have an answer to that as well. But I know, since Matt, you mentioned that initially, I'm curious, like, what ideas you have, and when you get inspired by the kind of clubs that exist, like here in Portugal, friends of mine are part of these different clubs, like the Benfica. They have like their membership card. Tell me where your mind goes when you start thinking about how you could thread the needle of NBA Top Shot and fandom of an NBA team, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, think at the highest level, right? People associate their fandom the same way that they associate their religion or their race or their gender. It is part of your identity. And I know you're a Celtics fan. Celtics fans are Boston fans are Boston fans, right? Like, there's probably no more insular fan base than that one, except for probably Philadelphia, which
Yeah, I'd
is
say.
like you don't like us, we don't care, and it is what it is. But it is also our identity, and so along those lines, one of the things that we're thinking about doing is we are starting to work with and reach out to a lot of people outside of the Top Shot community who are very involved with the Sixers, and we've reached out to like currently working, somebody's designing our logo and our merch is a prominent graphic designer who posts and makes a lot of Sixers content. So, she's got 5,000, 10,000 followers of her own that are all Sixers fans, including a lot of the Sixers players. And a lot of Sixers players wear her merch and the stuff that she does. So we're already thinking outside of, okay, great. Like, let's figure out, let's get other people outside of Top Shot. And she was interested. I was like, listen, can we also give you an S2 set so you can get involved, and having this be the, sure, once this starts to grow more, like, we can cross-brand this. But to your point with the cards and all that, I would love the idea of walking in and having a Trust the Moment shirt with a Sixers logo on the side, or a Trust the Moment on the side of my hat here. So the idea of, yes, I am a Sixers fan, but I am part of this sub community, and not everybody can be part of this sub community. There's an exclusivity around it that you need to have X, Y, and Z done to be able to join. And the first thing we're doing is merch. And I think that's, I know we've all talked about it. Merch is, it's great. It's t-shirts. We're not going to make people pay for them. Thank you, Top Shot. I think that's, I know it's a running joke with NFTs. Is like, here's merch. Now we need $300 more, and that's that's not really what we're trying to do. But we're trying to create this idea that we are part of something that is part of the Sixers, but different than the Sixers, if that makes sense. So we are all Sixers fans, but we are part of this Sixers fan group. And I think it was really interesting. We obviously had the process, Trust the Moment. And there was a lot of fans who were either pro-process or anti-process. And I think that was really a lot of the way that I think about how you can be subgroups of fans, where it's like, no, this stinks. I can't believe we're tanking. And then there's other ones who are like, quite literally, trust the process, right? We're doing this to gain them back. And we're all Sixers fans, but we were in two camps. And I think about it, it's similar in that way of, yeah, cool. Like, this is who we are. This is what we're about. And, we can, as a collective, say, this is the things we want to do. This is how we want to interact. And the big one for us, and I know I'll let Eric do this, touch on the IRL events. That's the number one thing people want. We're planning a watch party on Friday, June 10th, around the finals game, and it's going to be the first time that we're all getting together. And it doesn't have to be anything crazy. I know Minshew's, put through on an awesome party, right? That I want to give credit where credit is due there. Or was it Pack-Rip Mahomes?
I think it was Pack-Rip and Minshew's together. Yeah.
All right. Well, both of them. I'll give both of them credit, but they know who it was. People don't need something that quick. People just want to be together. They just want to have something on the books that says, I know when I show up, we're going to talk Top Shot, we're going to talk Sixers, we're going to do it for 3 hours, and then we're going to go home. And then if I see these people again, when I see these people again, it's now just furthering that bond. Anything in real life, it's the same way with, if you're working in virtual meetings, right? It's like one thing if I'm sitting here with you and Eric, but then it's going to be another thing when I meet you guys in person at the Top Shot convention. Our relationship immediately is going to go another step further. So it's just this idea of saying, yeah, we've got a place that we can go. We've got people I can go to Sixers games with, and somebody that I can share this hobby with and this passion with. And I think that's really what we're centering around. So that merchandise to create exclusivity and a lot of these in real life events, whether that's just at bars, watch parties, talking about different things, even setting up and going to Phillies games over the summer because there's no basketball, but just things that we can get together and talk about the commonalities that we have, which again are Top Shot and Sixers basketball.
Yeah, makes sense. Eric, do you want to talk about any of the IRL events that you have planned?
Yeah, I do. And Matt, that's some awesome stuff you're planning. So to jump off about what he's saying, and I think the overall theme for our community is going to be not focusing so much on the day-to-day. I'm going to check my account. I'm going to see my moments. I'm going to see if it's up or down, which we've all been living through for the last X amount of months. And I think it's going to be a lot more of the in real life events where we're not going to be doing that. We're going to be like meeting people. We're going to be talking Top Shot or what we, really enjoy within the platform. I do stuff that's so different than, 100 different other collectors do. And that's what makes the platform so exciting. And I learn a lot from just talking to you guys and everybody else about what angle they enjoy. But the in real life events we're going to focus on is things like the NBA draft experience, which is, in our backyard here in Brooklyn, and doing a tie-in to, have a giveaway where people can go to the event, experience the draft, which is a once in a lifetime thing. I've never even gone myself, and it's always here in Brooklyn. So that's really cool. And then, we may have, an event at a sports bar, in Brooklyn, where other people who, won't necessarily win the top prize, but we might do, a watch party or, something going on around that too. The other thing I was talking about before where we're going to do an event down in Atlanta, and have that focus around the WNBA. So the great thing about the summer is the W is going on. So the Dream is playing the Suns on July 16th or 15th, and we were going to tie that into a whole weekend long of events. So we were going to do that, and then we're going to tie it around. I was mentioning before, there's going to be a local community event at State Farm Arena where they're doing like a million meals for the homeless. And we want to get people involved in signing up for that and going to that during the day. And then at night, we were going to do another sports bar event and possibly give out, signed memorabilia and jerseys. And maybe, the great thing also is that we have the ability, it's not guaranteed always, but we have the ability to reach out to the NBA teams, and see if we can get, current players to come, or, past players. So that is going to be a great thing for us to tap into, and have them, come to these events. But we really want to have it be, like Matt said, also the merchandise is going to be big for us too. So we're going to make T-shirts. We're giving them away. No one has to pay for anything. And I think that's what the switch we're trying to flip is. These extra utility things, we're not asking people to pay for. Like, we know they've all invested a lot of time and money, of course. And we want to give back to that community who's been, passionate just like us, and we want them to be rewarded. So, my focus is not to just give it away to 5 or 10 people and just have it be such a small pool. We're going to have enough firepower to, really affect and give back to hundreds and hundreds of people, which is going to be really cool.
See, yeah, that's to me that's like there's so much potential because as far as I understand, you guys, I know it's a pilot program, and I think it was $10,000 of funding basically that you are given every month, or you can spend and then get refunded every month. So there's so much you can do. So like, how do you even decide? Like, is it I'm gonna try to spend as much as I can out of that 10,000 and do as much as I can, or is there some other kind of strategy? Like, how do you even start to plan when there's that much money that you could potentially play with? Like, how do you decide? Matt, you want to take that?
Yeah, I think a lot of us, first off, a lot of us I think, sent out forms to community members just to see what do you want. But I think Top Shot's done a really good job. Jacob and Luke have just laid out the expectations here. You did touch on it. It is a pilot period. We've got 3 months. They gave us a budget for the next 3 months, and they're basically saying, let's see what works here, because they have said we do want to do this longer term, but they just handed out $1 million to all of us. And I think that's something that, that we should be giving Top Shot a lot of credit for. And I feel like it's, I know we all kind of crap on it, but they just are handing a lot of us these checks of saying, go do a lot. And after this 3 months, we're going to see what works. But the expectation here is, how do we bring on more people? How do we get more people involved? And when you frame that, it says, okay, here's how do we now use this budget to go out and get more people to want to be part of these communities. So, we sent out a Google form that just said, what are you looking for? What do you want out of this? And we had a lot of responses. I know, we saw it within the team Discords, like a lot of responses came in. I think the themes were generally the same. In real life events, whether that's meetups, whether that's game tickets, whether that's, different things, meeting different players or going to the draft, the things that bring you closer to the NBA, we want merch and we want giveaways. And I think those are all where we're kind of shaping this around at the moment. But you're right, like, we do have to figure out how we are prioritizing. And I think for a lot of us, those getting everybody into one place and meeting everybody, I really do feel will change the experience for the today. And you actually said something earlier that I thought was interesting, or one of you guys did, but Eric, you did. This is the initial, right? The people who are part of these communities today, we're all part of this pilot period, because again, the goal is to bring on new people. So the benefit is really for anybody who starts. We're all my captain and I, one of the team names that we really, my co-captain and I wanted was Founding Shotters. play off like the 1776 and everything like that, and it ultimately didn't get voted. But we're saying like we should just refer to each individual person who starts with us as the founding shotters, because it is, this next 3 months is really like everybody's on board with us. This is all something we're all going to go through together and we're all going to figure out. But yeah, it's got a budget. You got to be responsible. Top Shot is there. You know, we're going through a expense platform, so we do have to show everything that we're spending and getting reimbursed for. But you got a budget. And, yeah, I think I was a little blown away, Eric. I don't know about you, but they were like, yeah, they were saying about the St. Louis guys and how they got the NBA players, and they said the cost of them, and I was like, yeah, so maybe we'll get some NBA players the next time around, because I don't want to eat up all my budget just to have like Shake Milton show up to our event. So,
Right.
you know, 10,000 on one hand is like, yeah, that's a lot of money, and then on the other hand, it's like, oh wow, that can go really fast, really quickly if you're not careful and you're not planning. So
Yeah.
I think that's just the planning aspect of like, let's budget this out.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
news to me that Ben McLemore charges like $6,000 to come drink a couple of beers. But I wanted to actually ask you something there, which was and by the way, I don't know that Ben McLemore charged $6,000 to drink beer.
It sounds like it was more, but yeah.
It was more. Oh my God. Okay. Right. Well, that's interesting information. But I did want to ask you about like when obviously Dapper and Jacob and Luke and whomever else, they have like a close connection with the team captains, and they are trying to see certain metrics. And it sounded like what you just said, Matt, is that the idea here is to get new people onto the platform? Is it to get more people into the team set to become team set holders? I imagine it's probably the new people onto the platform. Am I right?
It's less about specific metrics and more about showing progress within the first 3 months. Jacob said this best in one of our captain meetings, which was, be realistic. We're not going to continue to give you 10, 15, $20,000 a month for 20 of you guys to just go drink beers together every week and to go to games, right? And I thought that was the best way to encapsulate that. And
Yeah.
if we're going to be realistic about this, there could be a world where if the Sixers only stay at 50 active members and the Hawks grow to 300 members and the Hawks are spending more money and the Sixers fans are just kind of sitting around, why should we get the same amount of funding? And I just think we have to be really realistic post 3 months, because again, while this is a 3-month pilot, they have said they are very much committed to it, but they need to see what the results are. And I think when we say a pilot period, it's less about, hey, I need you to hit 100% growth. I need you to onboard 25% new customers. I need you to increase spend. It's not like we're getting those types of metrics, but it can't be, Matt and his Sixers, the 25 Sixers fans are just buying tickets, going to Phillies games, drinking beer, and then 3 months being like, hey, can I have $10,000 more dollars? So, they're right. And they're saying after the 3 months, we'll see what comes from all of it. But I think if we are going to be realistic, if Eric's able to onboard 300 people who then spend $25,000 on the platform, the lifetime value of each of those people for Top Shot is significant. Like, I won't talk about how much we've each spent. I know Eric just bought into 9 Lives Lounge, so I can only assume. I can also go check, but we have to be like realistic here, right? Like, again, Top Shot gave us all $1 million, and there needs to be some form of results here. And I would say, and this is nothing that they told us, but again, if the Hawks fan group were to bring on 300, 500, 1,000 people, and the Sixers were only bring on 50, I would expect the Hawks to get more money than the Sixers would at the end of all of this, because it's better organized, it's actually bringing on new people, and it's serving a benefit for Top Shot. And I think what we're really trying to do is create these win-win-win scenarios where it's a win for the community, where we get the money to do all these cool things. It's a win for the individual collectors, because you get to add people to your community, you get to unlock these exclusive benefits, and it's just overall driving value, more value from the Top Shot platform outside of your daily value of the account. And then it's a win for Top Shot, because all of a sudden now we're reaching out past just these NFT collectors and saying, I am looking to get diehard sports fans who maybe don't want to end up spending $15,000, $20,000 on the platform, but more willing to spend $250 to be more involved with the Sixers because there's now a community around it. So, our focus here is less about, for the Sixers, I would say, is less about finding the people who are going to be spending $20,000, $50,000 on the platform, but trying to get as many Sixers fans on the platform as possible, giving them a clear step of, yeah, like, you sign up, you collect these Sixers moments, and you unlock this value. So the Sixers team set worth $210. Say, what do I get for $210? We want to line up and say, you get merch, you get community, you get access to the ability to win tickets. You're going to get, you're going to get these meetups where we're going to watch games together, and it could be it could be a whole list of things. And that's a big shift now when somebody comes onto the platform and says, I'm spending $200 for video clips that can go up and down and I can just get on YouTube. And it's like, no, let's turn that into an access pass, right? And I think we're on both ends of the spectrum here. And I know we talked about this. TSS has really made it so that money's spent and it turns these high-end moments more into collectibles. But now we've got 98% of these moments on the platform that I don't want to say are not valuable, just based on the price, they're not as valuable, but could they serve a purpose? And I think that purpose, again, is I'm going to collect the Sixers S1 or S2 or S3 and get access to these really awesome things that I just did not have before. So to bring that all around, we don't have descriptive metrics for this first 3 months. The goal obviously is, let's try to get more people on board. Let's try to build out the community. Let's retain the people that we already have. I think that's also a big issue that we get kind of caught up on. Everyone's like, where's the user growth? Where's the user growth? And it's like, well, why don't we also keep the people that we have here? Because, there's a lot of Sixers fans who have come and gone that you kind of miss. And you're like, wow, that person really liked basketball. And they were good to have in the Discord, and they're just a good person to have around. So how can we retain the customers that we have, or the fans that we have? How can we bring new fans on board and just kind of grow from there? And after 3 months, I think we'll, in all likelihood, my assumption would be, is that we would have more direct metrics that are tied to it. But again, just want to be realistic about the idea of, like, if Atlanta grows by a significant amount and the Sixers don't, I would imagine that Atlanta would have more of a budget after the fact than we would, just because it makes more business sense that way.
No, I like it. It's interesting. And I think also you make a good point too about, like, you want to retain your existing customers as well. That's super important. But also what I'm envisioning here is this is almost like 30 different little marketing departments localized by city, which is also an interesting idea as well. And I wonder if that affects your approach, both of your approaches, in terms of what kind of events you put on, because a big motivating factor, it sounds like, is how do we introduce this to a lot of new people? Because yes, you want to keep your existing people engaged and all that, and it hurts to see people come and go. But the other thing too is, like, if I'm putting on events, if I'm like, who do I need to talk to? What other online communities that might not know anything about Top Shot? Like, what do I do to make sure that I'm also, like, hitting that potential all the time to bring in new people?
Can I just, Eric, real quick? I just want to without hitting other online communities, just our friends. We're like this event in 2 weeks that we're doing. It's, if you're in this Discord, we're gonna give you +4. Just bring your friends who love basketball. That's all. Like, we just surround ourselves with people. We're, first and foremost, it's less about trying to find randoms and more about, I know we see this a lot across Twitter. Would you recommend Top Shot to your friends? And a lot of people say no, I wouldn't at the moment. And we want to, that's the first barrier I think we need to break down, is I'm going to bring 5 of my friends who I talk basketball with but don't really talk Top Shot with, and how can we bring them in board? And I think that's the first one to go. And to your point, this is like a guerrilla marketing tactic, right? We're 30 people out in market. You're having people sit up there and say, go and organize. So sorry, Eric, but that's, I think friends to me are the first barrier to just saying, invite your friends. They can like it or not. And at the end of the day, let's just get more basketball fans aware of what this is.
Absolutely. I think it's a delicate balance with the budget, like you were talking about before. But, I'm going to go heavily into real life events. and spend money there, and I'll probably have one event a month. But the cool thing is, and I've already, talked to so many other team captains, is, because where I live, I can, jointly do an event, let's say with the Nets and the Knicks, and we might. So if we're going to get a bar in Brooklyn around the NBA draft, then we can, pool our resources, right? And we can have a much bigger group and a bigger event, and get, a bigger, result from that excitement. And I think it ties back into like the merchandise, which I think is going to be pretty powerful, because I'm an Atlanta Hawks Trae Young fan, so I'll wear his jersey or his T-shirt, walking around the city, or to work or with my friends. But you do that with Top Shot, or you do that with the Mohawks Atlanta community, and then people are like, "Oh, what's that?" And then it just like starts to click even more. So I just think it's going to be way more powerful. And what you do, Tandy, is awesome when it comes to content. And I think that's where there's so much upside with Top Shot and us team captains, is not just to have these awesome events, but we're going to have people videoing it. We're going to have people then posting it on Twitter and other places, and then it's going to start to hopefully go viral, and everyone else is going to see and go, wow, they have this cool event, just like the guys in St. Louis did. I want to do something like that, but I want to go bigger. I want to do something really cool. And now we have that ability. And I think that's the one thing that we're all excited about unlocking, because it hasn't been done yet, but we know that there's huge potential.
Yeah, and something that I really liked as well, Matt, that you were kind of alluding to, was this idea that if you bring someone into Top Shot right now, um, like, yeah, if you purely are just looking at what's going on in the marketplace, it is hard from a like investment perspective to be like, yeah, friend, come on in, like dump as much money as you want into this thing. However, if it's more about this idea of like what you guys are running, where it's like, yeah, you spend like $200 and then you get to be in part of this club that's going to have an event every month. There's going to be giveaways. There's going to be sometimes players going to show up to the bar with you, and like, just spend what you can afford, but realize that a big benefit is this group. That to me is like it's kind of like a game changer for someone who looks at Top Shot less like a marketplace, as I would say many people are currently using Top Shot, and this is more of like a segmented marketing approach and club that people can sort of buy into via Top Shot. And that was something that I actually talked about once too, which was, if the normies treat Top Shot more like buying like a membership or buying like a ticket into something, then it'll make a lot more sense than the normies who are like, NFTs are a scam, I don't want any part of that. So that's what I think what you guys are doing that is so interesting, that has so much potential. So anyway, I just want to mention that.
Yeah,
Let's
it
not
goes
forget
back to
I was gonna say Top Shot was the gateway to NFTs for a lot of people. And if we can
100%.
bring on 100 people, and 5% of them, 10% of them end up wanting to spend more, if that means their floor of being involved in Top Shot is just having $200 and having a very specific goal and reason there, that's a positive. And then if we could say, they say, oh wow, like this is awesome, I want to actually go and collect more and more and more. And they'll be like us, where we look up and we're like, whoa, okay, I've been here for a year. This collection's left. I've got over 1,000 moments now. How did this happen? I remember when I only had 30, and I was like trying to figure out how I was going to make it. And I just think that that's a really, it's a powerful way to get more people on board. And this really ties into the buyback program that we introduced. So we're going to buy back 500 S1 or S2 40K moments from Sixers fans. The goal there is seven of the 40, and then when we do send out these referral links, anybody who signs up through the Trust the Moment referral link will be gifted with those 7 moments, which means you have a good starting place. If you're just coming onto the platform and saying, you've got these 7 moments, you now need to collect a Shake Milton, an Isaiah Joe, and a Tyrese Maxey, and you will then have access to this. So it gives somebody a good starting point, a good direction, with when today it's kind of like, collect what you love, and you can do this, and maybe you can go do that, and spend a lot of money to get into these pack drops. And it's like, no, let's set something attainable, $150 to get all of this access, and then you make a decision about, where do I go from here? Is this something I understand? Do I get it? Because that's just so complicated. Like, let's face it. And it takes a little bit of time. So if you have a very clear first step of, I already have these 7 moments, I know that I need to collect these 3 more to unlock this access that allows for me to get these benefits. Okay, relax, sit, cool, I get that. And then start to take in all the other Top Shot stuff that is going on. And again, if you can get 100 people in the door and 10% of them then say, yeah, like I want to go and get involved and start to buy the moments from all the other teams so I can do moment ranks play, or when the crafting or the team leaderboards start to come up, they're like, oh cool, like I do want to be more involved in Sixers. I don't want that to just be my floor, is just having that S2 set. I just think it's a really good way to onboard people with community, because again, it is complicated to start, and a lot of people who are at this point are the normies don't understand it completely. And I think it's just a very clear and direct way to bring people on board to say, cool, yeah, like here's 100 new people.
Yeah, totally agreed. And I want to get back to that buyback thing in a minute, but Eric, you wanted to
Yeah.
say something?
I was just going to say that the biggest thing we've all been waiting for, obviously, since we all joined Top Shot, and for me, I do other NFTs a little bit, and we've all been promised like, oh, the utility is the real cool side of it, and it really hasn't come to fruition. But I think the game changer is going to be where I show my friend that because I have the complete team set of the Hawks S2, I'm going to be able to go to this event just by showing my phone, and holding your phone up is going to be that flex that everybody wants to do, that they're home waiting for, and there really hasn't been a way to unlock that. And I think that's going to be the cool thing that we're going to be able to allow these community members to do, and then get the referrals of their friends to come to a bar and meet the NBA players, or go to a draft experience. Is It's finally like going to happen. Like it's here, and we're going to be doing it. And that's what's super exciting, because everybody lives on their phone, right? But nobody lives, because of COVID, we've all been locked up for 3 years, and we're all dying to get out and meet each other. But that's going to happen this summer with this awesome program. Is you're going to be able to equate, okay, if I complete this set, I legitimately will be going to this event, and then legitimately have a chance to go to the whatever experience that we're going to be giving away.
But Eric, real quick, how does that work if there's 100 more, 200, 300 people in the Discord who have completed the set, and you have a certain amount of tickets? And this is actually a question I wanted to ask you, because we saw that this was happening just now, where teams in the conference finals could give away 5 tickets to their people. How do you guys decide who gets those tickets? What do you think is the most fair, above board way, or just how do you guys plan on doing something like that? Or have you already talked about it or thought about it for these other events, like the draft event or things like that? Like, how are you going? How do you, with great power comes great responsibility? How do you decide?
What do you go ahead, Eric?
Yeah, no, that's something that obviously we have been talking about with the community and the Top Shot guys, and we're going to be fair and unbiased, of course. It just depends on what we offer for a winner, or how people are going to be entered based on the promotion. We did the Twitter pack giveaways last week with Top Shot. And there's certain programs that you can run to do randomizer, pickers and things like that, like you do, Tandy, on the on your stream. So I don't think anything is set in stone yet, and there's tools out there that we're all going to use, to make sure that it's fair and unbiased.
Matt?
I would agree with one. It depends, and luckily, neither of us were in a position where we had to do the conference finals. I don't know if that's going to continue on in the finals. I think that was probably more of a, hey, let's get the captains program a little bit of attention. The same way, giving the captains the ability to give packs was more of a ability for us to build our audience up on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say it depends. Like if, say we buy season tickets, and the way that we're thinking about buying season tickets is if we can buy a 2 or a 4 or a 6, depending on how much money we have, I would say it would be great to put up a priority list and say, what games can you go to? You guys can trade amongst yourselves. And it will have to be based off of either a randomizer, or it will have to be based off of a ranking of which sets you own, right? So if you have a full set, shouldn't you have more of an opportunity to get it than somebody who just has an S3 set? You still have to create that hierarchy of ownership within these different groups that you have. So I think obviously the one side is giving away those tickets, which now all of a sudden we have a whole summer to figure out how we want to do that with what next season brings. So we'll figure it out. I think there's also a lot of people are talking about having season tickets, which I think is really cool. One of the ideas that I love that is being tossed around, I know I've kind of mentioned it briefly here, is like, if we did have 4 season tickets, I would love if Eric messaged me and said, hey, we've got a couple guys who are interested in coming to the Hawks game in Philadelphia. Can we trade you 4 tickets for this game for when the Sixers are in Atlanta? And then all of a sudden say, who wants to go to Atlanta for these? We got two sets of tickets going. And I just think that would be really cool. And
I love that idea.
Team, and then something like that, it would just be really interesting to say, great. And then when we're down there, Atlanta guys are going to take care of you. You guys will go to a bar, meet up, and then all of a sudden we've got people all over the place. And flip side is, hey, we've got Sixers fans have a couple guys in San Francisco. Hey, like instead of us buying tickets, it's can we trade you guys for the Warriors tickets that week so we can give to the guys that are out in SF. So lots of potential, it really, and sorry to give a wishy-wash, it depends. I'm not looking, obviously don't have to because we're out and you guys don't have to remind me. But we don't have to think about that quite yet. I think that's going to be more of how do we want to set this up for next season.
Yeah. And you got to think about whether you're going to give James Harden a contract. I mean, you guys are in a rough spot, but but another question. Something I was thinking about too is like, I think that team captains probably deserve to go to like at least a game. Like I think it would be kind of foul if a team captain just gave away tickets and like never went to one. Have you guys thought about that, or has there been any discussion about something like that the captains kind of, for putting in all this time and effort, should kind of be allowed to go to at least a game without a randomizer?
There has not been direct conversation, but Jacob has made it really clear that they are going to, I don't want to say take care of us, but they are putting a lot of effort into this. And
okay.
So, again, I think it's about to be the off season. We've basically got 2 teams playing at this point. So
hey, it's not over yet.
Nah, it feels like it was over after last night. So
the Heat are a very good team with an excellent coach. Don't jinx me.
There you go. Well, classic. Drinks away. At this point, anything but Boston. At this point, again, I think everything is really planning forward and saying what is going to be. So it is what it is at that point. I do think that the resources and time that Top Shot has been putting into this and will be putting into this moving forward, I would say that's almost inevitable. I think the flip side of that, and one of the conversations we had yesterday, was what if we do enter other contests and win, right? Like we've got iRacer as one of the captains. We all know what that, and we were all joking about this yesterday, but like, what if iRacer were to win something again? And it's just like, well, now he's a captain and now it's this. And it's like, okay, but now it's all of us and now we're all involved. And if that means that we're getting, not to say preferential treatment, but I think there is a fine balance that needs to be worked out. And I think let's reward the community first. And I do think that our opportunities will come down the line.
Yeah.
I think rewarding
your Twitter mute button ready for when that happens. But go ahead, Eric.
No, I was going to say, I agree with Matt, and rewarding the community is going to be the top priority. I think it's going to be important for us team captains for the in real life events to attend so that we can document it. We want to video as much as we can and interact with those guys for some of these events. And a lot of these people aren't as fortunate as us that I live close to, two teams here, and a lot of people don't live anywhere near an NBA arena like you.
Right.
And we want to reward those people to, have them come out and go to an NBA experience, where they would typically never do, ever, if not like, once in a while. And that's going to be really fun, because the community I talk to, there's people in Australia that are huge Hawks fans, which is so cool. And it's awesome to see how global it is. And this will give the opportunity for a lot of people to do things that they normally couldn't do, leaving their house and being at an arena in 10 minutes.
But how would that actually work? That's a good question. How will you? What kind of thoughts have you guys had for like the people who are in your discords who live nowhere near a stadium? Like, have there been any ideas about how you would benefit those kind of people?
I mean, one thing you could do, I mean, the budget we're given, we could spend however we want. So, I'm just spitballing, but we could, fly somebody out from Australia or from Europe.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it just comes
Wow.
down to cost. It comes down to cost. Not you, Tandy.
Go Sixers and Hawks.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, obviously that could be cost prohibitive in some cases, but in other cases, how cool would it be if you had some winner come from, Europe or somewhere, and then you actually like document that person's entire experience, from him or her packing up and coming and meeting, having the experience. That's, I think, the coolest part. And I think when I talk to my friends or the person, my buddy who I do this with a lot, you don't get to see the behind the scenes of what's going on, right? You don't get to see like the preparation, and I'm going to an event. It's like, here's a picture on Twitter of me and my girlfriend standing at the Mavericks game. Thanks, Top Shot. And I always think that there's so much more potential behind that would get people way more excited than that one snapshot of one picture, that I think is untapped and exciting to do.
Yeah, I think you're right. So Dapper Labs, if you're listening, it's Lisbon to yeah, look up those flights. I think you're right. I think it all comes down to like where do you get the bang for your buck, and sort of what makes sense from a budgeting perspective. But Matt, I wanted to get back real quick to what you were talking about with the buyback of the S2s. Can you just tell me a little bit more about how that works, and how many people are in your Discord with how many S2s, like how many S2s you're going to buy back?
Overall, it's a buyback and onboard plan. So the idea here longer term, and it kind of took a bit of a hit the other day with the referral program announcement. I was operating under, I thought the referral dollars would be a little higher. And I think where the difference was, I was surprised that it was just one purchase. So essentially it went from, you can buy a $2 moment to get $15, where you see a lot of referral programs today, whether that's on DraftKings, whether that's on, your grocery store, whatever it is. It's how do you incentivize more of a spend? And I thought they would put a higher number first, because you can always go down, right? Like get an
up
Amex,
to
100,000 points. Yeah, like
right.
You should incentivize a spend. And so I thought that they came in. I was surprised that they started at the basement on that. So I was kind of operating under this, and just go with me on this, operating that it would have been a $50 to the team. So we allocated $2,500 for this. Again, we're looking at this as a phase one trial period. Allocated $2,500 to buying back moments within this budget. So that's going to be 500 moments across 7 players. So 71 players. The idea here was the first 71 people who then got the referrals back would get that set of 71 or 7 players. So you start with 7 guys. How we're going to do that is quite literally X amount of people. We're going to see how many people are interested, and then we're going to allocate it from there. So the goal is, if we can give you 10 or 5, depending on which sets you own, we're going to give the first ones to the full set owners, and we're going to see how many people are interested in that. Then the S2 owners, and it's only going to be for Sixers favorite it. So right now we've got about 1,100 Sixers favorite it, but I would say probably only about 110 of them are actually active, just given based off the numbers that we've seen from our responses that we've been getting to date. So, you know, we're going to break it up from there, and then you're just going to input. I've got 3 Matisse, I've got 2 Tobias Harris, I've got 2 Danny Greens. I've listed them for $5 on the market, and we're going to buy them back. Why I brought up the referral dollars was 7 moments times 5, $35. The idea there was then if we would get a $50 referral bonus, that would be a plus 15 on referrals for the Trust the Moment. So, you know, we spend $2,500 to get $3,550 back. That means then we're starting to now generate more revenue month over month, which then starts to allow for us to say, great, we can continue this type of program because it is cash flow positive for us. We're using that additional cash flow to buy an extra set of season tickets or buy a whole group of tickets and do all the different things, because again, we're trying to figure out different ways that we can make this money work for us in a replicable way. And I know I already touched on this, but that in fact would create a win-win-win situation again for the community, bringing in more dollars for the members of, we're giving you an off ramp to TSS if that is the case. You know, obviously we'll see what happens with trade tickets. It does sound like there's a lot more coming with trade tickets, and it does sound like there's a lot more coming with the holding, or I forget what it is, the freezing of team moments, right? And with crafting. So we'll obviously see what happens with that. It does feel like there will be some type of off ramp provided by Top Shop, but there's now also an off ramp where you can get Dapper back into your wallet. So win there, and then again the win for Top Shot that we've already talked about, which is, hey, join Top Shot, start with these 7 Sixers moments, and it's more of an incentive now that you say, great, now collect the next couple of these moments. So, you know, that was kind of the plan. I think now we've got to kind of reconfigure what that looks like, just based off of now a $15 referral, because again, I think I was a little surprised by the lack of floor that they put on the spend limit, because in my opinion, that doesn't incentivize a lot of spending behavior. I think that's more of a, let's get somebody in the door type of thing. And I feel like we're going to see a lot of girlfriends and dogs and moms and dads now who all of a sudden have Top Shot accounts, but don't get very active. And I think that's what happens when you introduce such a soft intro or soft requirement to getting that money. So
Sure. And I was going to ask you this idea, for example, where you've obviously put quite a bit of thought into this. Are you sharing that in a Discord with other team captains? Are you guys like sharing tricks of the trade, ideas, and are other Discord saying, "Oh, that's good, I'm going to take that"?
Yeah, so I've posted all of that in the captain's Discord. Some people like it, some people don't like it. Some people also just make assumptions about what it is. I've seen some Discords and some captains be like, well, they're trying to raise the floor. And it's like, I'm not buying 40K, like 540Ks. If we think we're raising the floor, then you think we don't know basic math. But yeah, it's, you know, some people like it and some people are like, oh, like that's great. I think it's more people at this point are looking to claw back some value from their S2 moments in the form of Dapper. And I think that's, you know, we don't have to get into the economics of it, but when no new money comes in, everybody's stretched thin. And it would be nice to just have an extra $25 or $50 of Dapper for these things that are now selling for $2 and essentially are just relegated to trade tickets that are unsellable. So, you know, it's not going to be a huge windfall. We're going to see how much interest it is. It's not something, you know, we've made it really clear that it's not something we're committed to longer term. But if it does work and it does fit into a longer term plan of incentivizing people to A, sign up, and B, get active, then I think those are clear metrics for us to be able to say, yeah, this works. This is something we're willing to invest this budget in, because we know that the more people that join, and the more people that join, the better it is for all of us. So yeah, we'll see. It's not like we're just flushing that money away. I think it's a good way of saying we're keeping this money in the ecosystem. We're keeping those moments to bring on new people and hoping that they then in turn spend more money. And then, $15 is still, it may not be 50, but it just means now it's a negative $20 transaction as opposed to a plus $15 transaction for us. But at least then at that point, we'll still gain back some of what we had spent there. So it's not just like a complete sunk cost.
Yeah, but the thing that I really like about that though is the fact that you're creating like a package for a new user. Like here you go,
Correct.
here's 7 moments to get started. Eric, did you have anything to add, or I actually have like a second question, but do you have anything to add?
Nope, go
Okay,
ahead.
so my other question for you guys was so the team leaderboards, that has obviously changed quite a bit. I don't think it doesn't actually affect what you guys are doing that much though, right? Because you guys are getting your funding in from Dapper and you guys can do as you will and create your own kind of situation. But I wanted to get your take on that though, like your take on how the system has now changed, and now like basically people who had the advantage of being in early are now at the top of like almost every team leaderboard. Does that affect what you guys are doing at all?
For me, I don't think it does necessarily. I mean, I know everybody's kind of obsessed right now with the new Top Shot score. I went from I think 11,000 to 163,000, so I'm happy. I don't even, I don't know what exactly that means. Besides, I made the priority queue for the Magic drop, so
Mhm.
I'm happy about that. But that's also because of the early adopter, bonus that I got, and a lot of other factors. But I put a lot of time and effort and money into the platform. Um, I think for me and my community, it's not going to be focused so much on the leaderboards. I feel like that's a whole nother sector of the platform, and where some people focus their attention. Me personally, I don't really check it at all that much. Um, so I could be doing great, or I could be at the bottom, but I'm not one of those people who have to keep climbing every week and be higher and higher. I just think that to me can be too super competitive, and lose focus on how I'm going to spend my time and funds. So it's not much on my radar.
Yeah.
I don't know what.
Matt, do you feel the same way?
So I'm the complete opposite. I love the leaderboard. I was between 5 and 9. It was what I focused on. I wanted to be in the top 10 of Sixers. On one hand, because Roham said it was going to be important. So, for one, anybody who says, "Oh, we knew Top Shot score was going to change," we also said that the leaderboard was going to be important. So, for anybody who's saying the S2 stackers who are climbing the leaderboard, it gave the middle class a seat at the table. And now what we have seen, to your point, is it's just the early adopters, it's just the big spenders. So what I think is going to happen is you also have to factor in, and this is something we're focusing on, if you have the Sixers favorited. I think that's the other part of now the team. So there is a clear delineation now of, you can be on the top of that leaderboard, but if you're not a Sixers favorite, then you don't get the value from us. We're not Top Shot. None of us work for Top Shot. We support the Sixers community. So sure, you can hold the S2 Sixers moments. You don't get access to most of what we're doing here because you're not a Sixers fan. I hold 15 other team sets. I don't expect that. I use those to get more value out of Top Shot for when I do have to lock my Spurs set or I have to lock my Hawks set. But I'm not going to go to Eric and be like, well, I don't get access to these tickets. Like that's BS. And it's like, well, I'm not a Hawks fan. I just did it because I thought, Trey could have made another run in the playoffs and that there could be some value from that. So now when you own these other sets of other teams, those are used for the leaderboards. Those are used for the locking. Those are used for the benefits that Top Shot's going to provide you. And on our side, we're going to provide value for the Sixers fans. We're going to provide value for the Hawks fans. So I do now look at those as two very, very separate entities. And I think it's going to be interesting. I think the funniest, and sorry for not being able to give credit, was the tweet I saw about was like the Rob Lowe with the NFL on there. It was like all the 50 whales sitting at the top of the leaderboards. And it's like, I do think we're going to get to a point where it's like we can't refer to team leaderboards as fandom because it's going to be the same 50 people who are just parked up atop every single one of them. And that's not fandom. Sorry, it's just not. Like, can't go to the Sixers and say like, hey, look at these top 50. There's one of them on here that's actually a Sixers fan, and the rest of them all live elsewhere. They all have different teams labeled on there. That's not what the Sixers want. The Sixers want what we have, which is 500 people who are going to show up to games, who are going to maybe not spend as much on Top Shot, but will pay money for merchandise, for Sixers jerseys, for food at the stadiums, and maybe we will get out hot dogs through our budget. But I would say those are now extremely separate, and I think anybody who looks at that and says, "Well, Top Shot pays you guys gives you money to do this," and it's like, leaderboards are now run by Top Shot. You get value through Top Shot moments, and that's where the value is there. This program is more for Sixers and Hawks fans and fans of that particular team. And I would say that we're going to have very little use on our end for that team leaderboard.
Yeah, yeah, I think that was well stated, and I think also when we talk about fandom and the future of fandom, and that was always such like a pie in the sky term to me. I never knew what that actually meant, but I think that when we think about these groups or these clubs, and it doesn't really matter if you have the S1 set or the S2 set necessarily, like, and your banner is of the Sixers. That to me, that those are the people that are the fans. That's where you find the fandom.
Correct.
So I sincerely hope that, like as you said, we're in a pilot phase, but these are the pockets of the actual fans. This is where to find the fandom and nowhere else, really.
Correct.
So yeah, I'm on the same page as you with that one. Well, I'd say we're like almost at about time here, but I'm wondering if what are some other things that you are, let's say, hoping for on the platform? It could be specific to what you're doing and with your as a team captain. Um, but like my colleague Joe, aka that's my Tandy, or I think that's his handle on Twitter, or Tandy NFTs. He's got this idea about the commissioner of NBA Top Shot, like a community commissioner, and he wanted me to ask something about, like, if you were sitting at the table with Roham, let's say, like, what is something, because you guys are obviously incredibly involved at this point, like what is something that you guys are hoping for the success and forward movement of this platform?
Access.
Go ahead.
Access. And I just think it's, let us get closer to the NBA. And I think that's something that, Jacob obviously has spent his entire career being very close to the NBA and has a ton of connections. And I know a lot of the other folks that they've hired also have worked, whether they've worked as agents or with agents. And if we can bring fans and let's change the way you interact with your fandom, right? I think we've kind of gotten into this world of digital displacement where I could play 2K as the Sixers, and that's how I show it. I could gamble sports. That's how I show my fandom. I could go to games. There's so many different ways of doing it, but how are we going to find our niche of, this is how you are a fan? And I just think the way, and what excites me about this and why I love this opportunity of being a captain is it allows for us to have the resources to get closer to the game and the teams and the players that we love in ways that we have not before. And I know that's, again, for what I would say is just more access to being close to the game that we just have not. And Top Shot has those connections. They obviously have a relationship with the NBA. We see it with those all access things, but how can you make those all access instead of just having it be 10 people, have it be now 30 different teams, have that on a more consistent basis? And that to me is really where the one thing I would come to the table and just say, like, just make that access more broad, and how can we scale that out?
Yeah,
Eric?
100% agree. And I think I'm a walking testament because, like Matt said before, I just became a Cool Cat set owner 3 days ago. So I'm a perfect example of, since the day they launched it a year ago, I, was grinding and obsessed about joining that club. And luckily for me, it came way down from $30,000 to a couple $1,000 to make it affordable. But that future hope of unlocking some incredible access is so super exciting to me. And the fact that, like, you can dream about, like, having a Cool Cats luxury box in every arena, or something crazy, or you show your Cool Cats, badge, and you can walk into an NBA store and get, $100 worth of merchandise for free, or things like that, which I know are in some way, shape, or form are going to come. That is going to be the next level. And I still have, a tremendous amount of excitement and hope about the Top Shot platform, because if you look around, nobody, even though it's not coming yet, nobody is doing anything close to what they've built. And I still think that they're so far ahead of everybody else. This is so still futuristic to 99% of the world, but the three of us get it. And that's why we're still here, is that it's still something that's in its infancy. And I think we're all just so super excited and anxious and never satisfied that we wanted it yesterday, that we're anxiously waiting, but super excited.
For sure. And yeah, I think there's so much potential here. Um, Obviously, the Top Shot is a complicated beast. There's a lot of different things we can talk about. This right here is about like community and just empowering your most diehard community members. Obviously, we're not talking about economics or broader marketplace issues today. This is more of a rosy stream. But I think with that, I'll let you guys go. We'll play a couple, at least one video, which I feel like we should have played at some point here, because since you guys are such great representatives of your respective communities.
We love the community.
Yeah. I know that you guys love your community, so I had to play that one for you. But I guess that's it. Unless you have any final words, like where should people find your if they want to learn more about the Hawks community or the Sixers community, where should they go?
So for the Hawks, you can go to our Twitter is Mohawks Atlanta,
Okay.
MOHAWKS Hawks Atlanta, and then in the gated Atlanta Hawks Discord channel is the other place that we spend all of our time. So those two places.
But probably if someone's a casual, they should probably start at Mohawks Atlanta.
Exactly.
And the Sixers?
At Trust the Moment.
Okay.
And on Twitter. And, I think one of the things that, I guess maybe I don't know if I should say it, but one of the things that we did talk about is Top Shot will be building us landing pages for each individual team. That way we have a better place to drive people, normies, new users. So look out for that over the next few months. That's going to be something that, we're just starting the infancy of, where we're going to have the ability to put the content that we want on there. So that will also be a good spot. But for today, yeah, Twitter handle at Trust the Moment. And we're posting everything that we post on Discord will also be posted there.
Awesome. Well, I applaud you guys. I know it's no small task to organize and to plan and to manage massive groups of people. I mean, that's not an easy thing to do. So I applaud you guys for that. And I think that's about it. So I thank you very much. And I definitely am curious to stay in touch and see what you guys come up with. And maybe we'll have another conversation in a few months and you can tell me all about how well things have gone or just what you've learned. That'll be exciting.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us. I really appreciate it.
All right. Well, for Matt, for Eric, this is Tandy Time, a recorded show this time, and we will be airing this. When you're watching this, this will be our usual time on Sunday. But for my guests, thank you, and until the next time.
Static Selector.